It is Friday, April 18th, 2025. I'm Heath Lambert, and the biggest story of the week is the China trade war.
China is digging in. Americans are waking up to a whole new escalation in the global trade war.
Chinese airlines to stop taking deliveries of Boeing planes and to not buy the aircraft-related equipment from American companies.
The White House says the ball is in China's court when it comes to fixing the tariff war between Washington and Beijing.
If things are not handled well, this means complete stop of China-U.S. trade, both ways. No goods exported from the United States to China.
So the president, again, has made it quite clear that he's open to a deal with China, but China needs to make a deal with the United States of America.
As I record these words, news is breaking about a tragic shooting at Florida State University. Details are still coming in. It's too early to know exactly what is going on, but we're going to watch that story for future analysis. And above all, we're going to pray for everyone involved and for the Lord's grace in that situation. As we talk about the news this week, I want to remind you that the biggest story of last week was the Trump tariff turmoil. That colossal story has not disappeared from the headlines, but has calmed down a bit after the president initiated a 90-day pause to work out new tariff agreements with the dozens of nations willing to negotiate. Every nation on planet Earth was included in that pause, except one, the People's Republic of China. The pause took place last Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. Since China's exclusion by the U.S., the two countries have responded with increasing escalations in trade penalties in an effort for each country to punish the other for trying to punish them. At a high level, as I record these words, China is refusing to import some goods from American manufacturers, like over $1 billion in airplanes from Boeing, is refusing to export crucial rare earth minerals to the United States, and has imposed a tariff of 125% on goods coming into China. The United States has imposed its own top tariff on some Chinese goods of 245%. This is a multi-trillion-dollar game of chicken, and it is too early to tell how it will develop in the days ahead, much less how it will end. Many Americans fear dramatic increases in prices from the goods they buy from China, and even a recession in the economy. You don't need any more speculation here about these potentialities. Instead, we'll evaluate them if and when they happen. As we look at what is actually taking place, there are four realities happening on the world stage that help explain what may be going on in the American trade war with China. The first world event has to do with Panama. For months, President Trump has talked very tough about the interest of the United States in the Panama Canal and his concerns about Chinese encroachment in the area that could imperil the movement of U.S. commercial and military traffic through that crucial aquatic artery. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth recently announced an American deal with Panama that would privilege American vessels and limit Chinese influence in the canal.
Yeah, Will, you got it right. This is about malign Chinese influence. This is a power play by the Chinese in our backyard on what in the military we call key terrain. The Panama Canal is strategic key terrain. You mentioned the 40% are U.S. ships. Well, 75% of the traffic that goes through the Panama Canal either originates from or is going to a U.S. port. And you mentioned the history there of our investment. This is something we've been involved in for quite some time. And so we had a chance to go down there with a large group of U.S. soldiers and ships and others to meet with their leadership and say, we want to help you remove Chinese influence. And thankfully, the leadership of Panama are eagerly pro-American.
The second world event has to do with Ukraine. President Trump has made no secret of his interest in pursuing a negotiated peace between Russia and Ukraine to stop the killing and end American involvement in that conflict.
And they're in very serious discussions. As you know, Ukraine has agreed, subject to this, what's happening today, to a complete ceasefire, and we hope Russia will do the same. Thousands of people are being killed, young people, usually, mostly young people. We were just talking about it. Thousands of young people are being killed a week, and we want to see that stop.
Third, President Trump has made constant criticisms about NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, that our American allies do not pay their fair share, leaving the most expensive part of their security to be paid by American taxpayers.
I have been very, very direct with Secretary Stoltenberg and members of the alliance in saying that NATO members must finally contribute their fair share and meet their financial obligations. But 23 of the 28 member nations are still not paying what they should be paying and what they are supposed to be paying for their defense. This is not fair to the people and taxpayers of the United States.
The fourth issue may, I suspect, be the key element of all this. It is Taiwan. The American government has growing concerns about Chinese ambitions in the Pacific Ocean in general, and for the nation of Taiwan in particular. For years, China has claimed this sovereign nation as its own and has threatened invasion. Admiral Samuel Paparo, the head of the United States Pacific Command, has given sobering warnings that invasion is no longer a threat, but is part of concrete Chinese military planning.
The People's Republic of China has embarked on a dangerous course and are on a dangerous course. Their aggressive maneuver around Taiwan right now are not exercises, as they call them. They are rehearsals. They are rehearsals for the forced unification of Taiwan to the mainland.
These realities place the American trade war with China in a larger perspective. It indicates that American aggression towards China is not narrowly directed toward trade concerns, though those concerns are certainly present. But these realities place trade policy in the context of a larger approach to China that sees it as a growing threat to American national security and world peace that must be checked. Quite frankly, the United States is overextended financially and militarily. The kinds of actions we are seeing in the headlines are the kinds of things that must be done to be ready to face the growing international threat that is China. There are a lot of moving parts on all this, a great deal is at stake, and much could go wrong. It is also far too early to tell where all this is headed, and it's impossible to know what the president is thinking. For now, the best thing to do is not worry, is not to stress, but is to remember the command in 1 Timothy 2, 1-2. I urge that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for all people, for kings and all who are in high positions, that we may lead a peaceful and quiet life. As Christians, we are not in charge of this conflict, but we must pray for those who are. A trade war with China is unpleasant. A military confrontation with China would be catastrophic. But such a conflict is not the worst war imaginable. The most terrible conflict is the one between sinful human beings and a holy and righteous God who is right to punish us for our rebellion. The good news this Good Friday is that Christians have a solution to that conflict in the death of Jesus Christ on the cross for sinners. This wonderful day anticipates Resurrection Sunday, when Jesus physically came to life, demonstrating his powerful victory over sin, death, and the devil. In a dangerous world, I hope you're trusting in Jesus and are planning to worship him this Resurrection Sunday. If you're in Jacksonville, I'd love for you to join us at First Baptist Church as we worship a living Christ. That is not only the real biggest story of the week, it's the biggest story of human history. I can't wait to see you next Friday as we examine next week's biggest headline.